That's the same drivel that this minister was trying to sell to auto workers 3 months ago, and nothing's actually gotten better.
They're starting to leave. Welcome back to Moose and Loose. My name's David. Today, we've got one of Carney's Liberals leaving the party, going over to the UK, resigning. We also have a sad state of journalism on mainstream media. We dig into the Epstein files regarding Mark Carney during his time as governor of the Bank of England. We've got some other stuff here. Let's jump into this. Starting this one off, we got Table Salt posting this. The Hub is reporting Canada, including private debt, has overtaken the USA as the fourth most indebted country in the world. We now owe almost 4 times our GDP. Canada in red up here, 377, only to be toppled by France at 390, Japan at 457, and Luxembourg at 517. United States just below us here, 337. And who's at the bottom? Latvia, Poland, Colombia, Lithuania. Moving ahead, we got Kirk posting this one. So Donald Trump making a deal in India here. So US will lower tariffs on India, and India will get rid of some of their tariff and barriers. $500 billion investment in relationships announced. India will stop buying Russian oil, will instead buy US and Venezuelan oil. As he says, Trump once again ate Canada's breakfast and lunch before Mark Carney's visit to India, which would see a fraction of value in agreements. Yeah, Trump is sticking it to Carney over and over, but it doesn't matter because Carney's invested in America, so it's not going to affect his stocks, but Trump's going to reduce the tariffs from 25 to 18%, and India will be removing some of their tariffs to zero. $500 billion mentions energy, technology, agriculture, and coal. Where's Carney's deals? Can't seem to find them. Moving ahead here, we've got Bill Blair has resigned from the Liberal Party. This coming from Mackenzie Gray. This all over the place. The Speaker has just informed the House that Bill Blair has officially resigned his seat, meaning the Liberals are back down to 169 seats. So it starts now. The floor crossing situation is over. That whole fiasco is done with because they can't have enough anymore. There's going to be so many of these people stepping down, taking positions that they'll never have those numbers again all at the same time. And Carney knows that, so he's got to go to an election. So we've got this everywhere here on Trending Politics. Bill Blair resigning. He's going to be taking this position as High Commissioner in the UK, High Commissioner for Canada in the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland, and Natalie G. Drouin as Ambassador of Canada to France and Monaco. Next up, we've got a Liberal gang that shows up for a press conference. Just look at this.
Bonjour tout le monde, vous allez bien? Vous allez bien?
Look who it is. They're parading Michael Maw out here, front and center for this Liberal press conference.
Lundi matin, je regarde tout le monde, oui. Écoutez, ça fait plaisir, on vient de commencer...
They put this greaseball here front and center, so he gets asked a question later on.
For this, Mr. Ma, if I could ask you a question, do you support the C-19 measure, and do you think the Conservatives will keep their word in passing it through?
I could only say that I personally support this bill. Any bill that will help Canadians in saving money and keeping more money in their pocket, I will definitely support. I cannot speak on behalf of the Conservatives.
Do you think we're going to see any more?
He can't speak. He could only do it a couple weeks ago. Not anymore. What a dirtbag.
Do you think we're going to see any more floor crossers from the Conservatives coming over in the next few weeks?
Again, I don't have a crystal ball either, so thank you.
To your Conservative colleagues?
Let's get back to the issue of this.
Yeah, he doesn't have a crystal ball. All he's got here is direct ties to Anita Nan's husband through Life Labs, where they both worked there together at the same time, as well as all these other ties to China. That's it. That's all he's got. No crystal ball, just a whole bunch of other stuff. Moving ahead, we've got mainstream media on full attack of Donald Trump. This time, what they're doing here is trying to tie him to Jeffrey Epstein. Now, he's got ties. There's no doubt he's got ties. Let's just look. There's people post this on X all the time. Here's the collage that's going around all over the place. As I said before, it's mostly in kind of business environments. There are some partying pictures, unlike the Bill Clinton ones, which are like hot tub with what looks like underage people. With that in mind, what is Canadian media doing? They're going after Trump. They bring on Eric Ham. They always bring this guy on. Just listen to this.
Speaking of powerful men mentioned in these files, have we learned more about Trump's connection to Epstein?
Well, President Trump, while we know that there's still so much information in these files, and of course, we know that clearly Donald Trump had a relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. We know that relationship certainly spanned years, and that Donald Trump, while he has continued to say otherwise, the files continue to make clear that Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein not only had a very close relationship, but that in many ways these men seem like kindred soulmates.
What do you make of
Kindred soulmates. This is what they're putting on media. This isn't news. This is just like propaganda. This is tabloid stuff. If this was on some sort of tabloid newspaper or channel, then for sure. But I mean, this is what they're running on Canadian news. Brainwashing 101. You call this reporting? Shame on you. Don't you mean Carney? I mean, that's just it. If you're going to talk about Trump, let's talk about Carney and talk about Poilievre. Talk about all of them. So talking about Mark Carney's connections, we're going to go to Shutterstock because people seem to think these photos are fake, to change images to editorial image and then put in Mark Carney Carney and Ghislaine Maxwell. Search for that. There they are. And as we see here, this is that popular image that keeps going around, Ghislaine Maxwell and Mark Carney right next to each other, Mark Carney's wife. And we can see these are taken by Adrian Sharat. These are real photos, and there's a bunch of them from this event. This is in Cornbury, which I believe is Robin Rotherwick III's estate. It's this estate right here. That's where these photos are, as far as I know. And there's multiple ones here. As we saw this one. There's also another one here, Mark Carney, Ghislaine Maxwell. These are real photos. Now, there are a bunch of fake ones out there, but these ones are real. We want to talk about connections between Epstein. I mean, they bring up Trump, we'll bring up Mark Carney. Let's talk about Pierre Poilievre. So searching Pierre Poilievre and Ghislaine Maxwell, what do we get? Nothing. Looking at this website here, this is somebody took all the Epstein files out of the PDFs and put it into a searchable database. So these are all the files here. It's wild. There's thousands of them. You can see 4,101 files. You can go all people. We can type in Pierre Poilievre. He's not in there. Carney's not in the photos either, though. As we know, those other photos are of Ghislaine Maxwell, not Epstein. But if we type in Ghislaine Maxwell, there's 90 here. And if we look at Bill Clinton, I mean, there's some, like... I should note too, this is a painting on the wall, but still, this database doesn't have all the files. As we see, those hot tub pictures are not in here. We go over to the U.S. Department of Justice website here, and we can go into the search. We can type in, say, Bill Clinton. It brings up all the documents here of Bill Clinton and has pages of them. And clicking on one of them, this is where all these redacted files come from. I know former President Bill Clinton made 32 plane trips to Jeffrey Epstein Island. Disgusting. And to show you Pierre Poilievre on the U.S. Department of Justice website, there's nothing, zero results. Now, if we type in Mark Carney, what do we get? Well, there's a bunch of stuff here as well. And if we go to the last page, there's 7 pages here. Now, there isn't really any smoking guns that I found here. There are a few pieces of information. So the biggest thing I found from these Epstein files regarding Mark Carney is this. We've got a letter here from a whistleblower. This is Mark Anthony Taylor. Now, this guy alleges a bunch of stuff in here. We've got Mark Carney noted here. It says, it is noted that Andrew Bailey and Mark Carney are being investigated for the LC&F scandal. So Andrew Bailey took over for Mark Carney as a governor Bank of England, and the timing of that is very interesting, which we'll get to in a bit here. But what this is talking about, LC&F scandal, is this here. So London Capital and Finance. This is the financial collapse in 2019. Caused $237 million in losses for 11,600 investors in the UK. These were basically sold as high-risk mini bonds. They were marketed towards inexperienced savers and retirees. And this whole thing blew up as a Ponzi scheme. It was ruled in the High Court in 2024 as a Ponzi scheme. The independent Gloucester report published in December 2020 heavily criticized the Financial Conduct Authority, the FCA, who Andrew Bailey was ahead of, by ignoring multiple red flags and failing to supervise the firm effectively. What the whistleblower Mark Anthony Taylor is alleging here is that Jeffrey Epstein had his ties in Parliament in the UK, as well as in the banking system, as well as judges, to all protect Epstein. Epstein had corrupted all these different pieces in the government, leading to this financial collapse. Mark Carney was the governor of the Bank of England during this time. It basically sheds a light on Mark Carney's incompetence. Mark Carney called out by the whistleblower here. Andrew Bailey and Mark Carney are being investigated for this scandal. So how this breaks down a little bit here. Andrew Bailey of the FCA, it's alleged that Jeffrey Epstein blackmailed him and also blackmailed Parliament into appointing Lisa Osofsky, the director of Serious Fraud Office, so no one would investigate Jeffrey Epstein. And with that, there was 1,200 emails to Jess Staley, who was brought on as the CEO of Barclays to protect Epstein in 2015, who was later forced to resign in 2021 because the UK regulatory investigation found he mischaracterized his relationship with Epstein. The whistleblower alleges that Jess protected Epstein as well as Lisa brought in due to blackmailing. Epstein blackmailed Andrew Bailey. On the other side of it, the letter states here that the whistleblower has 2 restraining orders against him from Judge Worcester, which is a lower judge, and suggests that a higher judge on top basically provided a shield. That's what it suggests, that Lord Chief Justice Ian Burnett was alleged in the loop, so protecting the lower judge to put the restraining order, and then that gag order then protected Mel Stride, Chair Treasury Committee, for burying evidence in Parliament, blocking investigations, and silencing the whistleblower. This is all to protect Jeffrey Epstein. You can see straight off this whistleblower email here. Clearly, according to the FOIA responses I received from the TSC, the blackmail emails from Epstein should have been enough to have Staley dismissed in 2015 and would have given substantial context to my emails held by JP Morgan. The TSC has held the Epstein emails now for 5 years, and no MP or civil servant did the honorable thing and demand FEC investigate. So he's saying that they didn't investigate because they're all in on it to protect him here. So ultimately, Mark Carney's wrapped up in this, according to the whistleblower, that he failed failed. His leadership failed in not being able to protect citizens from this financial collapse. He should have had more oversight into this. This scandal here doesn't exactly leave the nicest stain on Mark Carney's record. Now, what's really interesting about all of this is the timeline. We can see this letter was sent February 23rd, 2020. Andrew Bailey took over from Mark Carney as governor of the Bank of England. Mark Carney stepped down 1 month after this whistleblower letter came out in March of 2020. So very interesting. I don't know if there's anything else going on here, but it is a lot of interesting connections we have here. We got one other tie here, Embrandt posting. So Reid Hoffman posting this: congratulations to my lifelong friend Mark Carney on his election victory. Leaders with a clear grasp of global economy and precisely what this moment calls for. And he's posting this in regards to this post here that Reid put up. Yes, interacting with Epstein post-conviction is something I deeply regret. I promise to continue calling for full release on Epstein files, yada, yada, yada. This guy tied in with Epstein as well, also tied in with Mark Carney. It's a network of all these guys. With all that aside now, let's jump over to the House of Commons. Conservatives are continuing to hammer the Liberals. Just listen to how Melanie Joly responds to Jazzaraj here.
Liberal math like that, it's no wonder Canada's economy is tanking and we have the highest inflation for groceries in the G7. Right. Businesses are postponing any type of expansion because Liberal taxes and red tape are still making growth impossible. While this government protects oligopolies in banking, telecoms, and groceries, Liberals continue to liberal by blocking energy projects and getting rid of any type of competition. Why not just scrap Liberal barriers and taxes so Canadians can finally build?
Here.
Honorable Minister of Industry.
Mr. Speakers, across the country we had great news. New jobs in Thunder Bay at Alstom. New jobs also in La Pocatière, in Quebec. New jobs also in St. Thomas with Volkswagen. New jobs in Valley Glencourt in Sudbury. New jobs in Bombardier, Montreal. New jobs in Tachi, Varennes. New jobs also in KS Potash in Béthune, Saskatchewan. New jobs also at Toyota. Good news.
She's unbelievable. First off, looks like she's wearing a couch from the 1970s. Second, she's up here announcing every new job in Canada. Come on, this is pathetic. They know full well that our economy's tanking, and this is what she has to resort to, is listing off individual companies that have created some jobs.
A new report shows that 10% of all Canadian small businesses have been wiped out since 2020 as new closures outpace startups. The Bank of Canada now says it expects only 1.1% GDP growth next year and says businesses are delaying expansion plans and growth in business investment is forecast to remain flat for 2026. Businesses don't want to invest here because regulations and taxes make it difficult for businesses to invest and grow. So when will the Prime Minister listen to conservative ideas and finally remove taxes and barriers stopping from Canadian businesses from building and investing?
Looks like the WF agenda has been working just as planned, wiping out Canadian small businesses.
Women and gender equality.
We're on a mission to build the strongest economy in the G7, and small businesses are at the heart of that. So while Conservatives talk down Canada, their Prime Minister delivers.
This is not talking down Canada. It's exposing an awful record here.
Securing multi-billion-dollar trade deals so that small and medium-sized enterprises can grow and scale their businesses.
So she just goes on to word salad. Jumping ahead here, we've got another clip of Melanie Joly just making herself look like a fool.
That's the same drivel that this minister was trying to sell to auto workers 3 months ago, and nothing's actually gotten better. So let's start with how it started. How it started, they said they were the ones who can negotiate with Donald Trump. Well, let's look at how it's going. 700 auto workers lost their jobs in Ingersoll. 3,000 auto workers have lost their jobs in Brampton, and 1,200 have now lost their jobs in Oshawa. We need to get beyond these talking points. Simple question for this minister. When will these auto workers actually get their jobs back instead of these tired words?
Honorable Minister.
The Honourable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, we have no lesson to take from the Conservatives.
That's right.
Who bailed out GM and protected their executives rather than their workers. That's exactly what they did at the time. And now what we're doing, we're coming up with a plan. They have no plan whatsoever.
Yeah, the Conservatives have no plan. The ones who aren't in power, and they've been in there for 10 years and everything's just awful. She has nothing to argue on here. This is the same tired old Liberal government, just Mark Carney at the helm. Nothing is different. Mr. Banker is not using his brilliant mind to save Canada. He's not doing any of that.
And we presented it to Premier Ford, and what did he say? Really good plan. We'll have good news soon, Mr. Speaker.
How many times has she said that? We'll have something soon. Don't worry. We're having another meeting. We're going to be talking with them again. Something will be happening soon. I'm sure all those laid off workers will sleep easy knowing that Jolie is on the case. Exactly. I mean, it must be devastating for all these people. And I wouldn't be holding my breath for the government to be doing anything to get jobs back. You just got to pivot and go to a new career or move to America or move somewhere else, because the government of Canada does not do what's best for the Canadian people. Moving ahead, we've got major breaking. The London Western University explosives precursors investigation has expanded to Canada's capital. So there was precursors found, some guys, I can't cover all the stories here, but yeah, this happened I think a day or two ago. Some guys with some training or university experience with explosives. As it says here, police are now confirming they found finished high explosives. So it's Jerry Tong and Zekun Wang were charged with unlawful possession of explosives. Welcome to Canada.
Investigation near Western University. Police now say additional search warrants have been carried out in Ottawa and Quebec. No further details on those warrants have been provided, like what police were looking for or whether anything was found. Here in London, they've charged 4 people after a trespassing investigation on campus last weekend led them to a nearby home. A loaded gun and potentially explosive chemicals were discovered. Police say the suspects are between 21 and 27 years old, from London and Ottawa. They've given no timeline for how long they expect to maintain their investigative presence.
Just another day in Canada. Why are a bunch of people lurking around Western University, and why did they have finished high explosives? And why are the police not saying more here? Great question. Matches the accused name, rocketry team, engineering faculty. So that's what it was. They're part of the rocketry team. I saw this somewhere else. They're just misunderstood. This is extremely concerning. Yeah, you bet it is.